We're the Girls VR Trauma Examiner team, and this is our project. So we're going to go into introductions. We're going to talk about who we are, and then we're going to talk about our project, what it is, how we went about developing it, and what we would do if we had more time. So for some introductions, my name is Alex Hooper. I was homeschooled almost all my life. I'm a huge computer geek and an app developer, and I am soon going to be full-time at Sinclair, and from there I hope to go to Wright State University to study computer science.
Hello, my name is Albert Choi. I'm a rising senior. I currently go to Oakwood High School. I'm interested in medicine and engineering, and although my major is undecided, I decided to go somewhere into the STEM field.
Hello, my name is Tiller Van Dorn. I graduated from South Lake Tahoe High School over in California. I plan to take a deferral year next year to join the California Conservation Corps, and after that I'm going to Reed College to study physics with the end goal of becoming a mechanical engineer.
So, to provide some background before we dive into our simulation, as you probably heard before, we work for the Gaming Research Integration for Learning Laboratory, also called the GRILL. And the person who submitted our challenge problem for us to work on was actually Dr. Daniel Surt, who is an anesthesiologist and currently works for the United States Air Force School of Aerospace Medicine and is a ground surgical team instructor, also known as a GST instructor.
So the challenge problem that Daniel Surt gave us was to replicate the EFAST exam in virtual reality. So next slide. The EFAST exam, or Extended Focused Assessment with Sonography for Trauma exam, is a fast...
We're having trouble hearing.
Huh?
We're having trouble hearing. If you could put the mic up just a little bit.
How's this? Oh, yeah. So... The Extended Focus Assessment with Sonography for Trauma, or EFAST exam, is a fast ultrasound examination performed with a handheld probe, as seen by that image on the right. It's meant to check for free fluids or trauma within the body to assess whether or not the patient needs immediate treatment out on the field. Next slide. Prior to our simulation, how doctors would train to give the EFAST exam was they would hold a probe up to a mannequin, and whoever was training the doctors would hold up a picture of what the probe would supposedly be seeing. This is a very analog and janky way of doing it, so that's why we were given the job to improve it.
So what is an ultrasound? It is a sound-based imaging system. So what it does, you have like a probe which releases sound, and it also listens for the echoes of that sound, and it's able to figure out what is in the area based on those echoes, and it can create an image, as you can see on the right. So simulating an ultrasound, all you have to do is have kind of a sideways view, because that's just how the imaging system in ultrasounds work. As you can see on the diagram on the right, if you had a probe over top of like a heart and a lung, you wouldn't see like a top-down view as if there were a camera attached to the edge of the probe. You would actually see a side view, as you can see according to the diagram right there.
So, to actually develop the project and build it, we used two main programs, Blender and Unreal Engine. And we decided to use Blender for our 3D modeling software, and we used it because it was a professional software that a lot of corporations and companies use, and it was also a free software. Another plus was that it was open source, though we never actually used that feature. Secondly was Unreal Engine, and we used it because of the blueprints and the ease of learning it over line-based coding. Another plus of Unreal Engine was that environmental design around the hospital would be way easier.
So our goals for this project were to be able to make it in VR, or actually, in our case, more mixed reality, because we have real-world objects that are represented in the virtual world as virtual objects. So we have like a physical mannequin, a real-world mannequin, and we were able to make a virtual version of it in VR. We wanted realistic animations, so that means a beating heart, breathing lungs. We also wanted to animate the trauma. We wanted to create a realistic and enjoyable environment for the simulation, and we wanted a functional and realistic ultrasound.
So, since we're doing our project in mixed reality, we decided to use the Vive Pro headset. Alright, sorry. Since we're doing our project in mixed reality, we decided to use the Vive Pro headset because it has these cameras on the front that allow the user to interact with the real world a lot easier. And it comes with these Vive trackers, as you can see on the leftmost image. This allowed us to basically create our own controllers by attaching them onto whatever we wanted, and we'd be able to track the motion of whatever it was. Next slide, please. So for our project, to start off, we had to create a simulated person for whoever was training to do an ultrasound on. So how we did that was we took this mannequin off of Adobe's website Mixamo, and we gave him a realistic face, some realistic skin, so it's not just plastic material, and some pants to make the simulation a bit more family friendly.
So to make this simulation more realistic than the prior one, we had to create animations in the internal organs. We did this using Blender, and Blender would offer features such as keyframes in order to animate the internal organs. And the organs that we ended up animating at the end were the heart, both lungs, and the diaphragm during respiration. And we did all of this to add the realism when using the ultrasound simulation. Next slide. Another goal we had was to create a realistic medical environment for the simulation, and we went with a more modern design so that it could be a more unique experience for the doctors using it. And we also acquired realistic equipment from places like Unreal Engine Marketplace, and finally we decided to add an environment that would surround the hospital, so we went with like an Arctic environment to make the experience less bland.
We wanted to be able to 3D model the ultrasound probe. In our case, we used the GE V-Scan as our reference because it's a portable ultrasound, much like one that they'll be using on the field. And we 3D modeled the display, and as you can see right there, it's actually pretty good. And we 3D modeled the probe as well. The cool thing about the probe is we proceeded to 3D print it, and we're able to track that using the Vive tracker previously mentioned. So you're holding the exact same thing that we 3D modeled, and it also looks like you're holding that in VR. So it's a very immersive and realistic experience. Got to remember my slides. So what we ultimately came up with is we have the probe, which is tracked by the Vive tracker, and you can see it in virtual reality and its position and everything. We are able to place a virtual mannequin in the exact same spot that a physical mannequin is. So you're able to like actually place a probe on a virtual mannequin, and it also feels like you're placing it on a mannequin because you are. You're able to see internal organs on the ultrasound display, and there's animations for the organs. We have a beating heart, we have lungs, and we have diaphragm movement. And we have a calibration feature, so if your mannequin is in a different spot or a different size than ours, you can just adjust the virtual one to match it.
So moving forward in this project, and well, if we had more time, there are a number of things that our team were looking into integrating into the project. The first one that really stood out to us was making the project augmented reality instead of mixed reality. We started in mixed reality because it was a lot easier to program the ultrasound functionality in a fully virtual environment. But now that it's there, making it augmented reality is definitely a possibility for this project. We'd also like to be able to produce more animations for the organs, make it more versatile, so it could be used for more than just the EFAST exam. And then it would be nice to refine some features that are a little bit buggy in the simulation and add more options to the actual probe itself, like a Doppler scanner, to make it more realistic to how an ultrasound probe works. Oh yeah. Over the course of the summer, our team we learned how to use Unreal Engine and Blender to fully develop professional simulations. And sorry. With our project specifically, we also learned a lot about how organs move in conjunction with each other and interact. And we learned how an ultrasound is used to read how they interact or see how they interact. Yeah.
So to wrap things up, we would like to give special thanks to the following people: our mentors, Quentin Oliver and Kaylee Aikens. They provided a lot of help throughout our journey, and without them, this probably would have gone down a different path. We'd like to thank Dr. Daniel Sert for submitting this challenge problem and giving us the opportunity to tackle this simulation. We'd like to thank Ms. Miller for organizing the Right Scholar, especially during these times. And finally, we'd like to thank Lieutenant Clement and Dr. Wink Bennett for organizing the grill and organizing this internship right here.